Weapons and equipment in the Roman-Germanic Wars. The Roman-Germanic Wars were marked by a stark contrast in weaponry and equipment between the disciplined Roman legions and the more irregular, guerrilla-style warriors of the Germanic tribes. While Rome relied on standardized, mass-produced military tools and tactics, the Germanic tribes emphasized adaptability and leveraging their natural environment. The clash of these two approaches defined the nature of combat during these protracted conflicts. Chapter 1: Roman Weapons. 1. Gladius, Roman short sword. The gladius was the hallmark weapon of the Roman infantry. Designed for close combat, this short sword was used primarily for stabbing rather than slashing. Its effectiveness lay in its simplicity and the Roman soldiers' training to exploit its deadly potential in tight formations. Design. The blade was typically 18 to 24 inches long, with a sharp point for piercing enemy armor or exposed flesh. Use in Germania. The gladius excelled in the close-quarters combat of Roman shield walls, but was less effective when Roman formations were disrupted in the dense Germanic forests. 2. Pilum, Roman javelin. The pilum was a versatile weapon used to disrupt enemy formations before melee combat began. Each legionary carried 2 pila of varying weights. Design. The pilum had a long iron shank designed to bend on impact, rendering enemy shields useless. Tactical use. Before engaging in hand-to-hand combat, Roman soldiers would throw their pila, breaking enemy shields and causing disorder. 3. Scutum, Roman shield. The scutum was a large, curved shield that provided extensive protection for the Roman infantry. Design. Made from layers of wood and covered with leather, the scutum was both durable and lightweight. Its central boss, a metal dome, could be used offensively to bash enemies. Defensive formations. The scutum was key in the testudo, tortoise, formation, which shielded Roman soldiers from projectiles during ambushes or sieges. 4. Helmets. Roman helmets, or galii, were designed to protect the head while maintaining visibility and mobility. Imperial Gallic helmets. These featured cheek guards, neck protection, and reinforced crests. They were highly effective against blunt force and cuts. Adaptations in Germania. Some helmets incorporated additional neck guards and thicker reinforcements due to the heavy strikes of Germanic axes and clubs. 5. Body armor. Roman soldiers wore 2 primary types of armor. Larica segmentata. This segmented plate armor provided excellent protection while allowing flexibility. It was favored for its defensive capabilities but required constant maintenance. Larica hamata. A chainmail armor made of interlocking iron rings, it was easier to repair and offered effective protection against slashing attacks. 6. Auxiliary weapons. The Roman army incorporated a wide range of auxiliary troops who brought diverse weaponry. Bows and arrows. Archers, often from Crete or Syria, provided long-range firepower. Slings. Balearic slingers were renowned for their precision, hurling lead projectiles at high speeds to disrupt enemy formations. Cavalry spears and long swords. Auxiliary cavalry used long spears and spada swords for mobility and reach. Chapter 2: Roman equipment and logistics. 1. Marching packs. Each Roman soldier carried a sarcina, a pack that contained personal belongings, rations, and tools. These included a mess kit and cooking utensils, a small shovel for digging fortifications, a stake for constructing defensive palisades. 2. Fortification tools. The Roman army's ability to build fortified camps every night was a critical component of its strategy. Soldiers carried tools such as axes and saws for cutting timber, picks and shovels for digging ditches, rope and nails for constructing palisades. 3. Siege engines. Though less common in the Germanic wars, Roman siege engines like the ballista and onager were occasionally deployed to destroy enemy fortifications or repel attacks. Chapter 3: Germanic weapons. The Germanic tribes relied on a mix of simple but effective weaponry, much of it adapted to their guerrilla-style tactics and natural environment. 1. Spears. The spear was the most common weapon among Germanic warriors, used for both throwing and melee combat. Design. Spears varied widely in length and construction. Some were lightweight for throwing, while others were heavy and designed for thrusting. Tactical use. Spears were used in loose shield walls, providing reach and versatility. 2. Axes. Germanic axes, often single-handed, were devastating in close combat. Design. These axes had broad, sharp blades capable of splitting shields and helmets. Symbolic use. The axe was not only a weapon but also a symbol of status among Germanic warriors. 3. Swords. Swords were less common among the Germanic tribes due to the expensive production, but elite warriors often carried long, single-edged blades. Design. These swords, akin to the Roman spada, were used for slashing and had a longer reach than the gladius. Cultural significance. Swords were often richly decorated, symbolizing the warrior's status and lineage. 4. Clubs and maces. Simple weapons like clubs and maces were used by less wealthy warriors. While crude, they were effective against Roman armor and helmets. 5. Bows and slings. Though not as sophisticated as Roman archers, Germanic tribes used bows and slings for hunting and warfare. These weapons allowed them to harass Roman formations from a distance. Chapter 4. Germanic armor and shields. 1. Shields. Germanic shields were typically round, made of wood, and covered with leather or hide. A metal boss in the center provided added durability and offensive capability. Design. Lighter and more maneuverable than the Roman scutum, these shields suited the Germanic warriors' hit-and-run tactics. Artistry. Shields were often painted with tribal emblems or symbols, reflecting the warrior's identity. 2. Helmets. Helmets were rare among the Germanic tribes due to the cost of production. When used, they were often simple iron caps or leather helmets reinforced with metal bands. 3. Body armor. Most Germanic warriors fought without armor, relying on mobility and natural resilience. However, wealthier warriors sometimes wore chainmail or leather armor. Chapter 5. Environmental adaptations. The Germanic tribes compensated for their lack of standardized equipment by using the environment to their advantage. Ambush tactics. Warriors used their intimate knowledge of the forests to set traps and ambush Roman columns. Camouflage. Germanic warriors often painted their bodies or wore furs to blend into their surroundings. Improvised weapons. In addition to traditional arms, the tribes used sharpened stakes, stone tools, and fire-hardened wooden weapons. Conclusion. A clash of traditions. The Roman-Germanic wars were not just a contest of military strength but also of contrasting philosophies in weaponry and equipment. Rome's standardized and highly advanced arsenal reflected its organized, disciplined approach to warfare. In contrast, the Germanic tribes relied on simplicity, adaptability, and their connection to the land. While Roman weapons were superior in technology and versatility, the Germanic tribes' ability to exploit their environment and improvise made them formidable adversaries. This clash of traditions shaped the tactics and outcomes of the wars. Chapter 6. Comparative advantages and limitations. The weapons and equipment of the Roman legions and the Germanic tribes highlighted their respective strengths and weaknesses. Each side's tools of war reflected their broader strategic and cultural philosophies, which significantly influenced the outcomes of their engagements. Roman advantages. Standardization and mass production. The Roman military benefited from a standardized arsenal. Weapons like the gladius and pilum were mass-produced, ensuring uniformity across the legions. This standardization facilitated effective training and allowed soldiers to seamlessly operate in disciplined formations. Defensive superiority. Roman shields and armor provided superior protection compared to their Germanic counterparts. The scutum, combined with the Roman soldiers' tightly packed formations, gave them a defensive edge in pitched battles. Engineering expertise. Roman equipment extended beyond the battlefield. Their portable tools and siege engines enabled them to construct fortified camps, roads, and bridges, allowing them to project power deep into hostile territory. Adaptability in combat. While the Romans were initially unprepared for the guerrilla tactics of the Germanic tribes, they quickly adapted. Roman commanders modified their equipment and tactics to suit the dense forests and unpredictable ambushes of Germania. Roman limitations. Heavy equipment. Roman soldiers carried a significant amount of gear, including armor, shields, weapons, and supplies. While this made them self-sufficient, it also reduced their mobility in the thick forests of Germania. Dependence on formations. Roman tactics were heavily reliant on maintaining disciplined formations, which were difficult to execute in the fragmented and uneven terrain of Germania. When formations broke down, Roman soldiers were vulnerable to the Germanic warriors' swift and chaotic attacks. Germanic advantages. Simplicity and mobility. The Germanic tribes used lightweight weapons and minimal armor, which allowed them to move quickly and strike unexpectedly. Their reliance on speed and surprise gave them an edge in guerrilla warfare. Environmental adaptation. The Germanic warriors' knowledge of their homeland gave them a significant advantage. They used the dense forests, marshes, and narrow paths to set ambushes and outmaneuver the heavily armored Roman legions. Improvisation. Germanic warriors were skilled at using whatever materials were available, from crafting fire-hardened wooden spears to using hunting tools as weapons. This adaptability made them unpredictable opponents.